Now, let me say one thing before we get started. I love Jake.
Gylenhaal!
He's a great actor. My wife and I have been binging on his filmography for the last few months, and despite all my critique, Jake still did a good job here. Stronger is a 2017 movie about a victim of Boston Marathon bombing named Jeff Bauman. It is based on a book with the same title written by Jeff and played in the film by Jake Gylenhaal. It follows the events of the terrorist bombing during the marathon in Boston in 2013. Jeff lost both of his legs, and we follow our main character on a journey through all the pain and suffering he has endured to recovery, while trying to maintain a relationship with his girlfriend Erin, his family, and seemingly all of the city of Boston as people try to come to terms with what happened. This is a good example of how complicated it is to adapt a true story onto a movie format. Life is messy. Typically, it doesn't have a good flowing narrative or story beats, clean character arcs, and doesn't follow a neat 3-act structure. When trying to tell a real story in 2 hours on a screen, one has to have a relatively narrow focus, move some things around, embellish, or even invent certain situations to serve the overall narrative. And I think that's absolutely fine in principle and in this movie as well. I have a completely different standard for judging documentaries versus entertainment movies like this one. And this is not a documentary. So let's talk about some elements that didn't work so well in this adaptation, in my opinion. Erin, played by Tatiana Maslany, actually came across like a real person really well. My only issue is that she comes across as a little bit too perfect. She's there for Jeff every time he asks. She's essentially ready to become a full-time carer, and she seems to take unjustified crap from just about everyone, including Jeff, up until a boiling point. Her flawlessness as a character just highlights how horrible everyone else is. Apparently, in real life, Jeff and Erin were already back together at the time of the marathon, which really makes a lot more sense narratively. Otherwise, feeling guilty is sort of the only reason why Erin sticks with Jeff afterwards, which makes me feel terrible for her and just hope that there's some character flaw that explains her attachment to Jeff better to stabilize this very emotionally unequal relationship. This has nothing to do with the video, but Jeff and Erin did break up before the movie came out in 2017, which does blemish the magic a little. Yet another reason why trying to stay too true to the real story instead of crafting something more suited to the big screen often ends up diminishing both. A horrible terrorist attack occurs, and our main character is recovering from surgery. His whole family is on pins and needles, arguing with each other. Tensions are high, and things are about to boil over. But then, our Costco savior comes in to reassure everyone that Jeff is going to keep his job, which of course is a top priority for everybody involved in the moment. But also, he's covered by the amazing Costco health insurance, so the amputation and rehab are on the house. This calms the whole family and peace is restored. For now. Product placement is not a big deal. Ads in movies are not a big deal unless...
What's my name? Dunkachino! It's a whole new game! Dunkachino!
The movie grinds to a halt to shove the marketing down your throat. The only thing that was missing was, "This scene is brought to you by Costco." The weird thing is that Costco did actually play a big role in Jeff's recovery, and by all accounts were very generous with their help. So the scene may actually have been somewhat true to life. The problem is that this doesn't belong in a movie as is. Could we have instead explored the misery that is the public healthcare system in the US? Perhaps the family is starting to feel reassured about Jeff's condition, but then the realization kicks in that they need to find hundreds of thousands of dollars to pay the medical bills, which then prompts a desperate search for money, which ends with Jeff's employer stepping in to help. Could this instead have been an exploration of corporate obligations in times of crisis? Can Costco afford not to fulfill their health insurance obligations while being scrutinized by media over Jeff's medical condition? There are interesting questions to be asked and explored without blaming Costco, the family, or the medical system as a whole. But the fact that Jeff's boss is barely anything more than Costco man, rushing in to represent his company with a gift basket and a pile of money should be telling enough about this film's priority. After a pretty good first half of the movie, where a city comes together after the attack, there is a switch, and we see Boston doing performative grieving, presumably to pull on those heartstrings. It could have been a really interesting deep dive into why we do this as a society, why there is a need to parade a victim waving a flag in front of tens of thousands of people, Or why is it important for an amputee to throw a baseball really well in front of a huge crowd? Why would someone like Oprah want Jeff on camera to be viewed by millions before even asking him if that's what he wants? What are the personal and moral boundaries in our media and our attention-obsessed world? And curiously, in the last scene of the movie, why is it important for us as an audience to see Jeff actually be able to walk in his prosthetic legs? If he can never do that again, despite all the effort and trying, are we supposed to feel less inspiration or empathy for his situation? It would be great if he just overcomes his limitations despite all setbacks. It would be awesome if his passion to reclaim his life, despite the obstacles, was there all along, and as a consequence, it became an inspiration to others in the movie and to us as an audience. But the problem is that it's something that he has to do. It's not good enough to just keep going, to survive. You have to overcome every obstacle, Jeff. Otherwise, we're not watching. That feels exploitative, and the movie could have opened up this topic more. Maybe pressure and expectation is a good thing? Who knows? The movie doesn't say. Jeff's family comes across as a dysfunctional blob of Bostonian stereotypes. Drinking, bickering, swearing, not listening to each other, and always looking for a way to profit off Jeff's misery, like free tickets to hockey or baseball, or meeting Oprah. We probably spend most time with Jeff's mother, who acts like she's never talked to him in her entire life before. Brothers and uncle are not much different. Just a few drinking scenes together where we learn precisely zero about them as characters, aside from really fun and self-deprecating banter. Father may as well not exist at all. His only contribution is to shadow the Costco boss at the hospital. They just talk all over each other at every opportunity, expressing zero individuality. As the movie reaches its climax, in the scene where Jeff practices his baseball pitch, he finally accepts his family and says he wouldn't trade them for anyone. Why though? They clearly exploited him. They didn't seem to care about what he wanted at all until his girlfriend had to step in. How has he changed? How will he view the family differently from now on? Nothing changes at all. But it's a feel-good moment, so good enough? So what is Jeff's arc as a character? Despite everyone treating him like one, Jeff doesn't really feel like a hero just because he survived a horrible attack. He's suffering from PTSD, he's presumably overmedicated and numb, and all he wants is to be left alone by the public to let him heal and adjust to his new life. His family and seemingly the whole city are intent on not giving him any space and constantly intruding in his life. As a consequence, Jeff retreats deeper into himself with drugs and alcohol, something that is apparently exaggerated compared to the book, and acts out in a way that lands him in trouble with authority, strangers at the bar, and of course his girlfriend Erin. How does the movie resolve this? Well, he learns to accept it. The end. Sure, more than that happens. He chats with his savior Carlos, something that happens very soon after the attack in the book compared to months later in the movie, and the savior thanks Jeff for making Carlos feel like a hero for once. That presumably shifts Jeff's mindset, and he embraces his role as a symbol. So now, instead of letting people take pictures with him while he makes sarcastic jokes, he does the same, but without the jokes. And that's all it took. There is no societal comment on just how weird it is to come over to a person in a wheelchair and unload your personal trauma about your dead brother, or telling that victim that your daughter wrote an essay about him in school and expecting something positive in return. It's just weird behavior that for some reason is shown in a positive light. Are there no personal boundaries that a grieving city will not cross? So the happy resolution is to relent to the ridiculous and unfair public pressure to be somebody else and simply accept it. That doesn't seem so great. This takeaway could be a really interesting dive into the way our society operates. Nice people with positive intentions operating together can have negative outcomes for the affected individuals. Instead, the movie just cranks out the patriotic and feel-good tone to say, it's the right thing to do, accept it, get on with it, it's all good. In the end, I'm not sure what the movie was really about. It throws some good ideas around, but it doesn't focus on anything in particular. Is it about a city healing from a horrible attack? Is it about a victim adjusting to the newfound and seemingly undeserved fame? A survivor struggling with PTSD but persevering? A relationship drama? Many ideas were thrown around, but none were properly and thematically developed in this curious hodgepodge. Jake
Gylenhaal
is always great then.